Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. And today is the start of season 3. And we're going through the Murderbot Diaries. We are covering book 1 in the Murderbot Diaries, All Systems Red by Martha Wells.
Whose author picture at the end of the book, I was like, wow, that was beautiful. Like, she is very attractive. I did not know what she looked like.
She's going to be up in Madison in May, and I'm like, maybe you and I should get tickets.
Yeah, maybe we should go meet her.
River Solomon, and I love River Solomon. They're amazing. They did The Deep, which is one of my favorites, like shorter novels.
That's a good one.
So, yeah,
I read that as well.
Yeah, we should go get tickets and see them, because why live in Wisconsin if I can't meet Martha Wells and River Solomon?
Not go on a Murderbot diary journey.
So special. But before we get into all of that and the plot of the first book, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Okay, so as far as reading, it's been like a weird holiday time, so I haven't really read anything, but besides the Murderbot Diaries, All Systems Red. But I mentioned in our best of that I had read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. And so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more, because this book is so good and I really want people to read it. And if you love Talia Hibbert, you will really like it. It's about a couple in high school that were friends, but when they got to high school, one of them kind of became popular and kind of left the other one behind. And their friendship kind of became more of like a we are rivals situation. Ooh. So our lead, Celine, she is hilariously a TikToker who's a conspiracy theorist. And there were even things that she was like talking about in the book that I was like, oh, I've never thought about that before. Oh my gosh.
What?
Like, do plants feel pain? And I was like, I feel uncomfortable with that. I feel really uncomfortable with that if I'm eating.
You know what I had to look up the other day? If pumpkins and squashes were fruits.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's hard to know, because pain? Like beans and stuff like that are so hard to know, like, because things that you typically consider belonging to one food group, just the way that we've been like drilled into our brains, haven't had it drilled into our brains. It's not true. Tomatoes. Right. But her frenemy love interest later on, Brad, is the popular guy that everyone loves. He does everything perfect. And Brad and Celine both want to become solicitors. Because this is United Kingdom.
Solicitors. Don't do it. Look away now.
They want to become solicitors. But the problem is, I have a terrible British accent. The other problem is that they actually don't want to become solicitors or lawyers, as we say in the United States. And that Brad actually loves reading things like the Murderbot Diaries, and he wants to be a science fiction writer. And Celine, you find out, has a lot of parental issues that she's working through, and maybe just wants to become a lawyer to be like, hey, look, Dad, look, I can do fancy things and become a really well-educated and smart and well-equipped person without you. Wow. And so they go and join this scholarship group, basically, is what it is. And the winner at the end of this group gets a scholarship to go to whatever university they want and study whatever program they want. And along the way, Celine kind of realizes, yeah, I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. I'm just trying to get back at my dad. I don't actually want to be a lawyer. I just thought that this would give me status that I could hold over him. And Brad kind of realizes, yeah, I'm not passionate about this either. I'm passionate about writing. And
only I'd read this book before my 3 years of law school.
This is a perfect book, actually, for, I think, people who are in high school or college that really don't know what they want to do yet. And as they're working through this group, they kind of become friends again, and then they become romantically involved as well. It's a really good book. I really think people should read it. And the thing that I mentioned in the last recording that we did, where we talked about this book, which I think was just our last week, if I'm remembering.
Yeah. Yes.
The days are all blending together.
No, you're fine, but it was last week.
But Talia Hibbert does such a great job as like writing inclusively, where you have people of different sizes and different abilities, and I just think it's so great, and it's never written in a way where it seems forced or that there's any kind of like, she writes queer characters, and one of the characters in this is queer. She writes queer characters. She writes characters that have mental health struggles. She writes characters that are chronically ill, and they're all just portrayed as people, and it's not like they
are people.
Exactly. And I have read books though, Hannah, where it's the main focus is just like, this person has a chronic illness and that's all that we know about them. And it's just like all about their life, or this person is a bigger person and that's all that we can know about them, and it just monopolizes their entire life. And it's like, does it though? Because people have like goals and dreams and other things that go on in their lives, that their entire life doesn't just revolve around the way that their body is. So Talia Hibbert is an excellent writer in terms of inclusive writing, and I really appreciate that.
That's the TikToker that I follow, Crutches and Spice. She recently posted a TikTok about like, do you guys understand that like the majority of my day is not spent thinking about my disability? Like it's just not, it's not even on my radar. Like there's so many more things that are important about me than what you think is most important about me. And I love that. So thank you for saying that.
Also, Hannah, my husband and I watched Wednesday on Netflix.
Oh, I watched half the first episode last night.
It's so good. We love it.
It's cute. I like
we
it.
Love it.
We
were very into it to the point where like we watched like 4 episodes in a row, and it was getting really late. My husband was like, we need to go to bed, but I'm really into this show. I'm like, yeah, I know, your eyes have been like glued to the TV.
I have a question though. Do we see any more of Morticia in it?
We don't see a lot of them. No, her family is not the highlight of the
That's fair
show, but it's about Wednesday, so I think that's fine. I mean, they are sprinkled in, and I think the casting was really good, because I think the Addams family themselves, I'm like, this is very good casting. Fred Armisen appears later, and he is good casting as well as Uncle Fester.
Oh, nice.
I really just appreciated the way that they cast the show. I thought Morticia was great. I also thought that Luis Guzman as her dad was very good
that
too.
Was very good. I think my only thing is like at the beginning, the first episode, I almost felt Morticia was too sweet. Like they had certain like darker themes about her, but I was like, oh, she's a little too sweet for me.
You'll get a little more later. But
okay.
It's not a lot of her mom and dad. It's not a lot of them. It's mostly just Wednesday. But this is a show for teens, and it's kind of a whodunit.
Our sweet spot.
So
our sweet spot is teenage shows that are just we find adorable. So I watched the first episode of that. So
just tell me when you watch the dance episode, because I want to learn it so bad. I was like trying to do it, and I'm like, my body is just flexible enough to do this.
Do you know any of the background on that dance?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Because I'm on TikTok, so it's all over TikTok. So for those who
I'm not on TikTok, so I have no knowledge of any history.
But the actress actually choreographed that herself.
Oh, Jenna did? Wow.
Yeah, Jenna did. So, and she actually was she looked into the grunge movement, and she studied those types of dance moves that like grunge movements, like famous like dances throughout like that era. She like put them all together, and apparently they had a choreographer on set who was like trying to like stop her and be like, oh, hey, we need to like get those moves. And like Jenna was like literally hiding from her because she didn't want to admit that she had done her own thing already. And she just wanted to like make sure it was good. And it was kind of like precious to her. So she was really nervous about it. And then she brought it out and they used it, and like everyone.
Well, it was awesome. And I think about it all the time. It's like, besides the Umbrella Academy, this is probably my second favorite dance on a Netflix
2023 or 2022. I liked the first episode so far. I was just like, oh, this is like a little bit sweeter than I expected at the beginning.
Oh, it's definitely very sweet. I don't think it's as dark as people thought it was going to be, because I think
Right.
people heard like Tim Burton and they're like, this is gonna be dark.
Right.
No,
Is Tim Burton actually dark though, or is he
I
just
don't know. I think he's
a little bit
honestly,
of a
to
white
me, I'm just like,
supremacist?
yeah,
Like, look up some Tim Burton stuff about how he feels on Black people, and let that percolate a little, because he said they don't belong in his aesthetic, and it's like,
oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not where, or he's like, well, I have a very specific aesthetic, and it's like, that does not include people of color. Like,
that's bad.
And I do think
there are people of color in Wednesday.
Yes, but I have heard some criticism that most people of color are like the bullies, and it's like, when you
Yeah.
already are on record as saying things like that, maybe think about your casting a little bit more.
Think about that more. I did not know that comment was made, and that is ick. I do not like that.
Just like,
but I did enjoy the show.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying you can't enjoy the show. I watched it as well. So just people, make sure you guys understand some of the people that people stan.
Sure.
But I can't wait to watch the rest of the show. So I'm glad you guys liked it, and I'm glad your husband liked it.
It was a lot of fun. And then we started watching well, mostly me, because my husband came in a couple of times and was like, how can you watch this show? But Veronica of Ronnie Reed's Regular Fame told me to watch The Circle so long ago, because we both love Love is Blind. And she was like, I think you would like The Circle. And I was like, I suppose, but then in typical me fashion, I just like threw that out of my brain and was like, I will
the window.
I will rewatch the same shows over and over and over again instead of watching a new show, and that's what I did until now. Of course, I do enjoy The Circle, and it is kind of hilarious to me. And it's one of those shows where it's just like you're watching it and you're just like, why can't I look away? You're just like you're trapped in it.
Yeah,
I'm trapped in The Circle.
Oh,
but it's actually like very strategic, and the way that people do these things, I'm like, I would fail at this show so quickly. but some of the people on it, I'm like, they're very sweet and naive, and others I'm like, they are so tricky. I don't know.
tricky.
But it's pretty good. It's got me hooked in, so good. I'll see how long I can continue with it. I'm only in the one season, so there's 5 seasons right now, so we'll see how far I go. One thing I will say though, I don't know why they do this with certain reality shows, where they start with like the most recently released season. So when you go to press play, it starts with like season 5.
I hate that it's doing that.
Why does it do that? How do you change it?
I hate it. I don't know, but I really dislike it.
Because I started watching a couple episodes of like the most recently released season. I'm like, this doesn't explain how this show works at all. And then I had to be like, oh, dang it. They started me on the newer stuff. I mean, obviously I caught on quickly, but then I went back and watched the first season because I was like, I want to have more context.
Right.
I want more context.
That makes sense.
Also, Hannah, another thing, I'm going to just bring this up because I have been really enjoying it, but, I got some stuff from Beekman 1802 for Christmas for my skin. It's like a skincare routine. And I have struggled with bad skin for a really long time. And I have been using Beekman 1802 products for a few years now, and they are really, really good. And I got some more skincare products for Christmas, and I really love them, and especially loved their moisturizer. It's called Bloom Cream. Highly recommend it. Another thing that I've been enjoying, that this was kind of a collaboration with Beekman 1802, and I think it's Republic of Tea is the company, but they did a Bridgerton tea set.
Yes, they did.
It's so good. It's like perfect for me because I am new to the tea world, where I don't really understand all the different kinds of tea and everything. So it's just really, really great because I don't have to put much effort into it, I guess, and it tastes really, really good. There's like
brought to you by
Duke and Duchess
1802.
Yes. Please sponsor me, Josh and Brent. Please sponsor me. No, I tell everyone that you should use Beekman 1802 products. Like, they're the greatest. Please support them. And Josh and Brent, as far as I can tell, I may be I hate to give endorsements sometimes because I'm just like, you find out that there could be terrible people within a minute. But they seem
with the
like
information she has
with
available
the information that I
today.
have at this moment, they seem like really great people.
Okay.
And I really like what they do with their company because they're all about like sharing kindness and spreading kindness and also having a product that is good for your skin without being harsh on your skin. And that's something that's been really helpful to me. So highly recommend checking them out. And that Republic of Tea Bridgerton set, highly recommend. Duke and Duchess tea. I also like the Anthony
I have received many of text messages about this tea,
they
guys.
are
So
good tis. The Featherington tea I just had this morning. The Queen's cake was pretty good, but I kind of prefer the other ones in this mix that I have, this mix set. So
fair enough.
Very good. Hannah, what have you been reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Well, we covered some of them in the last week because they were on my favorites. So I will not go over those again, but definitely read How the Word is Passed and A Kindred, as well as Nightcrawling, which I've talked about a couple of times. But I've read quite a few after that. I read one book that like I didn't really like. It was one of the 12 recommended by 12 friends. I reviewed it on Bookstagram. It's called Orbiting Jupiter by Gary D. Schmidt. This book just, to me, I think I want to bring it up on the podcast because it just hit on some things that I feel personally invested in, mostly foster care and foster care trauma. This book came out in 2015, and it's about a boy who you find out in like the story has a child. He's 12. And he gets put into the foster system, and he is on a farm with this family who like run an organic farm, and he's helping them. And it's told through the eyes of the younger son on the farm. I get why people probably love this book when it came out. It came out in 2015. I recognize that feels like a long time ago. It's almost 10 years ago. But like it has a lot of tropes of like the perfect foster child almost. Like look at how horrifying his life was. He's so intelligent. He's so amazing. He's so morally sound. He's so all these things. And it's like, this is a child. Like the whole point of the book is like, people make comments about like, oh, he has a kid at 12, and they'll like make jokes about it. And you find out like, that is like this beautiful story of love that he didn't realize what was happening, and like even that has its own trauma in it that they didn't really talk about. And they just don't go into great detail of like his dad is abusive and that is why he is in foster care system. And the girl who he was in love with like is dead. And like, it's just this horrible, like almost like torture porn ish, like, but also has this, like, he isn't described as white, but I would say that he could have been like a model minority character because it's ambiguous. It just says he has quote unquote dark eyes. And we all know what that means. And like in this story, the foster parents literally like at one point, the dad like throws in the kid's face. I'm ruining this book because I don't think people should read it.
Okay, that's fine.
At one point, the dad comes in and he's like, they're taking money to help raise you. Do you realize that? They don't want you. They want the money. And the foster parents are like, no, we've been putting this in a bank account for you to go to college because we believe that much in you. And I'm like, this is supposed to be like people who, yeah, they are helping like with fostering. But like, if we're to believe that these people are as amazing as we think they are, they don't have a ton of money. They run a farm. If they use that money to pay for the foster care child to eat, that's not the worst thing in the, like, that's what that money is supposed to be for.
I was going to say, here's my thing. People complain about the way that those funds are used a lot. And I think if you're using them for the child, that's what they're supposed to be used for. So the way that you allocate those funds, as long as they're being used for that child, they're being used correctly. And I know that like people, this is me just kind of projecting things that I have heard people complain about, but sometimes you'll see like foster families take their kids on vacation or this or that. If they use those funds to do a fun family activity, in my mind, I think that's okay. If they also do not have a lot of funds and use those funds to just feed and clothe that child, that is also okay. There is not one correct way to be a family.
Yes.
And fostering is so difficult. It's so difficult to find foster parents. I'm also not saying that there probably aren't situations in foster care where the funds are not used correctly. And I have heard horror stories. We've all heard horror stories, Hannah. So I just think that that's an interesting way to put that, when it's like, I don't know that that's a bad thing that they're using the funds for that child to eat.
And this was a YA novel. And this is why I thought it was harmful and why I really disliked it. Because if this is an instance where it is a young adult novel where some people who do not have a lot of thought process put into foster care system, because they are children, they shouldn't have to, but if this
or maybe just don't have the background, you know what I mean? Like,
if this is their first experience learning about foster care system, what they're learning is there are shining examples of these children who are so wonderful beyond all belief. They barely hit a normal child standard, and they get put into these homes. Yeah, like it's all toxic. Like it's this toxic positivity of like, don't worry, if you were a foster parent, you could believe in your child so much that these teachers adore him and he's great at sports and he's great at this. And the foster parents never touch the money. It's setting unrealistic expectations that lead people to learn about horror stories in the future and then use it to incentivize bad feelings towards the foster system. And it's dangerous, and I don't like it. Like, I personally, like, I don't have experience with the foster system, but I have experience with certain things that like make this very near and dear to my heart. And like, kids have to deal with a ton of crap, and putting these expectations on them is harmful. And I'm not saying that like foster kids aren't wonderful and they aren't intelligent and they aren't a million things, but they're also children. And to like have this bastion of goodness in this story, like it dehumanizes these children. And I don't like it. I really didn't like it. It really made me uncomfortable. And like, we shouldn't be putting these kinds of expectations on a system that is already hard enough and people do take advantage of. And then people are trying to do their best in. Like,
I follow somebody on Instagram who is a foster parent, and she gets a lot of criticisms from people, and I don't really like it, but she often says like, look, my journey, I did not want to become a biological parent. My husband and I decided that we still could be parents in our own way, so we decided to become foster parents. But we believe that the goal of being a foster parent is reunification with the family, and that's what their goal is, I believe, for most children in foster care, because not all situations of foster care are situations where a child is put in foster care because they need to be adopted or parental rights have been terminated or guardianship has been terminated. A lot of kids in foster care go into foster care because there's a temporary situation where they do not have a parent or guardian to care for them. So they go into foster care for a short amount of time and are meant to be reunified or reunited with their family. So I really do like that mindset, though, of that's the goal of foster care, is to reunite the family.
I agree.
And it's not to just remove a child from a situation and expect all these things of them, and to expect all these things of the foster parent. And
this was a book written by a white man that was very like short, and I just don't think was like, as if it felt very like, it felt like a story that we would have read in the 90s. And I was like, this was written in 2015. That's really harmful. Like, this is just kind of harmful to put this expectation on children. And you're right. Like, lots of people in the foster care system and lots of people in like adoption systems have pointed out, like, unfortunately, like, for some people who go into fostering or adoption, they like are doing it for themselves, but they're not thinking of what it means for the child. And it has to be a conversation about both.
Right.
And like, people need to have that proper expectation of like, this is about the child. This is about, and I just felt like this book was very much like, look at how wonderful this, and it's like, that kid shouldn't, and this is my problem. That kid shouldn't have to have all of those things to be wonderful. He shouldn't have to be the smartest and the best at sports and morally the best kid ever. he should get to be a child and still be amazing because he is a child who is worthy of love. And it felt like it was more about like, look at how wonderful he is. So shouldn't we love him because of, not no matter what? Like it just, I didn't like that. And I felt it was
the
very
only
harmful.
foster children who are these things are worthy versus all children are worthy.
Yes, because they are children.
Right.
And like telling it from the perspective of a young boy who didn't fully understand everything. Like you have to think about that stuff in a YA novel where like, this is the message you're sending kids. Like this kid is the main focus of the story, but he doesn't even get to be the main perspective where we get to see his internal struggles. Like, we just see him through the shining eyes of a boy who doesn't understand the full context of the story. Yeah.
I would be curious to know what the author's background in this is.
Right. I don't think I think
also
I was just like,
any listeners, if you have any experience with foster care or adoption and would like to give us some more information or context, totally appreciate it. Please email us or send us a DM. Like always wanting to learn more. So
he lives on his own farm in Michigan with his wife and 6 children.
Okay.
Where he runs the farm, and he's a professor of English. So, and he does seem to write a lot of YA novels with troubled children.
Okay.
So I don't know. I would not recommend his book. The person who recommended it to me is no longer on Bookstagram, so I didn't feel bad about posting a negative review after someone recommended it to me. And that's just one where I was like, this is a little too harmful for me to be like positive. Yay. Like, no, thank you. But yeah, so I read that book. And then I also read The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, and Erin Morgenstern's The Starless Sea. I read both of those at the same time.
What did you think?
I kept calling them vibes reading. Like it feels like you're reading them for the vibes.
So incredibly boring that I cannot like get past the first 100 pages. I've tried so many times. I think it's just going to become a book that I like.
So I did the audio version of that because that's what I did for the Night Circus. I adored the Night Circus.
The Night Circus is one of my favorite books.
Yeah, the Starless Sea felt like a book where the author obviously loves reading and like got too thoughtful about like book, you know, like how we talk about how a huge like love of people who read are like books about reading.
Oh yeah, we talked about this before where it's like The Shadow of the Wind. It's like, is this actually a good book or is it just a book about books? Yeah. People are like, oh, I love it. It's so good. And that's both of these books actually where it's like, is it actually good or is it just book vibes?
Yeah, it's just book vibes. Like the Starless Sea feels very book vibes. And I call it vibes reading because I think you could read these books in the right mindset and think they're the most spectacular things you've ever read. But on the next day, feel like they're just the blawest book you could possibly read. And it's all about the energy you're putting into the book at the moment you're reading it.
I don't have the energy.
Yeah. And it's just like, I did the Starless Sea on audio. I was kind of busy this month. So it was just like off and on. And so when I was invested, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But then there were moments where I was like, when did that happen? And I was like, I'm not going back. And I would just continue forward and be like, I guess I'm just a little confused. So, and I felt very similar about like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I did read that book, but I also just felt like certain things about the Starless Sea and The Invisible Life, I felt like if they had changed up some of the plot lines and the timelines a little bit and shifted them around, the story would have been better expressed. Like they saved a bunch of stuff for the last 9% of the novel. And then I'm like, well, this 9% is so excellent. And then I'm like, well, why didn't I feel it? And so like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, like a lot is put on the relationships between Addie and like certain people, but we didn't get to see one of the relationships like that well expressed until like the final section of the book. And I'm like, well, I don't care about the relationship now because I've seen too much of the other stuff.
Here's my thing too, with the time jump, I wish like she's alive for so long. I'm kind of like, why don't we get a little more in between here? Why do we have to just like jump to present day? Like, I don't know. I feel like.
Have you read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had read it.
Yeah, I read it.
Okay. Well, because I thought we almost got too much of the past life. Like, I don't know.
Really? I don't know. I felt like there was just too big of a jump between the past and then to present day. And it was just like, there's no fill-in material in between here.
So what I thought should have happened, and this is like semi-spoilers, but not really, guys. I don't think I'm spoiling anything too big. I thought we should have, I thought we should have read like how she started to have like the timelessness, you know? And then I thought we should have jumped to like the 1980s and gone backwards in time to see like where she was in the 1980s. And then you're going back and seeing how she got there. And I thought that would have been more effective because you would have seen like the tumultuous like portion at the beginning. And then you're watching the relationship go backwards. And like that would have made much more sense to me. Because by the time it got to the 1980s, it's like, why the fuck do we care? Like, obviously, this person's awful. Obviously, this stuff is happening. Like, we've seen them be terrible. Why would you tell us anything different? I don't feel any tension. I don't feel any, like, magic here. And I thought if we'd seen it go backwards, it would have made more sense because then we had bought in earlier and not been asked to buy in too late kind of thing.
I could see that, but I still just feel like it's just not a book that hits for me, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those that it was hyped up so much and it's a disappointing hype book for me. So
yeah, I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't hate it. I
think that's fair.
Of it, but I gave Starless 3 stars. It probably only deserved 2 stars, but I don't know. And then on a better note, I read Heartstopper Volume 2. And that was adorable. And I tee-hee-hee the entire time.
Love them.
And then I read Assembly by Natasha Brown. It's excellent. It's like 110 pages. Read it now. It's so good. It's about like a Black woman's experience in like finance. And she's visiting her boyfriend's like country house on the weekend. And it's fascinating. And it's all about like race and intersectionality. And it's told kind of almost stream of consciously, like not quite, but very close to it. And I kind of was vibing with it the entire time. It was just so good. Everyone read it. It's very important and it's very short. And then I read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And I think I need to not read any more Tessa Bailey.
And that's fair.
She's not for me. I don't enjoy men who are like, I am the first person to admit I am part of the artsy fartsy men who either, who like read and are so smart for their own good. And Tessa Bailey tends to have more macho men. And I'm not saying that I'm not yucking anyone's yum, but I am saying that they are not for me. And so I literally was reading It Happened One Summer and I was like, what the fuck is this man's problem? This woman is being perfectly nice to him. And he just automatically is like, oh, she's from LA. She's so pretentious. And I'm like, she's been nothing but nice to you. You're kind of being a terrible human being and I don't like you. And it like took me and I think you're supposed to kind of be like, well, he had a right. She was like laughing at his hometown. And I was like, she was laughing outside. He assumed it was about his hometown. This is the weirdest man I've ever seen. Why are we sticking with him? I did not like that book. I just like, there's so many parts where like he's a widower and it's almost like Tessa Bailey like took some of the most interesting parts of the novel. Cause I was like, oh, he's a widower. Like we can talk about like second chance love. And then Tessa was like, no, I don't want to do that. He was never really in love with his first wife. And I'm like, what an easy way out. And then
I was going to say, what a way to just throw that away.
Right. And then like he has a very close relationship with the father of his wife.
Okay.
But like they barely interact together. Like they're only on the page together for like 2 pages. And so it's like, oh, this interesting dynamic of like, I'm falling in love. How do you feel about it? And like the tension between the two of like, you can't replace my daughter versus like, I want you to be like, that's an interesting issue. And she never deals with it. And so I'm like, you had these fascinating thoughts and you just gave it all up for an easy peasy, like, we've been dating for a month and now we love each other, shrug. Like, I did not like it. And I don't understand why people love it so much.
Here's my thing. Like, I'm just going to call out the genres that I think do this the most. Romance and fantasy, where they will like pick up a plot line that could be something and mention it like in 2 seconds and then throw it away.
Right.
They do that writers in those genres do that all the time. And it's so weird. I don't understand.
I was so annoyed. I was like, this is like the most fascinating portions of the novel and you made them nothing. Yeah. Like you just threw it out and just walked away from it and never thought twice about it. And I was like, that's a really fascinating subject. And then like literally the main protagonist, I feel like there was just so much put on her that didn't make sense to me. Like she is fine, honestly. Like I honestly saw very little wrong with her. Like she's supposed to be this. someone described this recently with a Lindsay Lohan movie. It's like you take Overboard, but you take out everything that made the woman mean at the beginning of Overboard. And so they never have personal growth. So,
Sure.
and it's almost like everyone saw Alexis Rose and everyone loves Alexis Rose.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, I'm going to make a character like her without any of the like assessment of what made her special, you know? So it's like this girl who's incredibly vapid and kind of a partier and just Instagram famous and like relies on her parents for money. And then like she gets cut off and then she gets put somewhere, but then she's immediately fine. So like there are mice running around the place she's staying and she and her sister just plug up the holes. And I was like, honestly, as someone who grew up with mice, I would be able to plug up holes myself. Like I know this about myself. I get freaked out by mice. I don't like thinking about them. I don't like going near them. But to have these two like privileged princesses like go into this place and be like, oh, I started a fire. Oopsies. But actually, like there was a perfectly good explanation for why the fire started. It's like, no, you need her more incompetent than you're making her, or you need to not have the storyline. Like, I don't understand the need to have to eat your cake and have it too, which is actually the correct way to say that phrase. So
what's the other way that people say it?
They have your cake and eat it too. But if you already have your cake and then eat it, then it makes sense. It's eat your cake and have it too, because it's the implication that you eat the cake, but you still have it. But if you have your cake and eat it too, it's like, yeah, you have the cake and then you're eating it. This is the perfectly what people are like, that doesn't make sense. Who has cake and doesn't eat it? But it's like, no, you want to eat your cake and have it too.
Lots of people go with that.
I know.
We as United States citizens are so wasteful. Let me go off on another movie, Strange World, that everyone should watch.
I don't know what that one is.
The Disney movie, Strange World? Oh my gosh. I just watched it. Everyone watch it. Very good.
I like that you just said, oh my gosh, like I should have known. Like, how do you not know
advertise
about
all over the
Strange
place?
World? Oh, I haven't seen any advertisements.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. I see it advertised constantly.
Oh, okay. I've never seen any advertisements for it, but yeah, I just didn't like it. I thought Piper was perfectly fine and pleasant. And I thought everyone who kept being like, she's the worst. I'm like, no, she's not. She's literally not. Like, it's almost like what I loved about Book Lovers was like what she needed to learn in that book was like literally nothing was wrong with her. And Piper throughout this entire book, everyone, all they could think was like, something's wrong with her. And she's like validating their feelings. And I'm like, no, nothing's wrong with Piper. Like literally she just exists and she seems fine. Like she likes to dress up. That's about it. She's still very caring and very thoughtful. And like literally there's nothing wrong with her other than like she didn't have a job for a while. Oh my God, the horrendousness. Like,
have you ever like watched an interview with an author when you have like critiques like this to kind of like understand why they wrote a character a certain way?
Usually no. Usually just disagree.
Oh, okay.
I should.
You're saying this, and I'm like, I wonder if like you watched an interview if she would like explain some of the motivations she had when writing it.
Maybe.
You know, but
I don't know, because I feel like so many people love It Happened One Summer where I just like read it and I'm like, I guess I disagree. Like Fix Her Up, no one should like. That book was terrible. This book I just didn't understand as much. So it's a 2-star for me, Tessa. And I think you and I should part ways. It's not your fault. It's not my fault.
It's Emily Henry's fault, honestly, because Hannah
Emily
cannot
Henry
get over Emily Henry.
I can't get over her. She runs Nat Galley and she still won't give me her books.
Yeah, Emily Henry, your control of NetGalley is something that we all have a problem with. And when I say we all, we mean Hannah. So
but then I watched a lot of Taskmaster yesterday. That's what I'm watching. I love British television. It's so effing funny. I watched all of series 1 and it was so good. I died laughing the entire time. I'm part of series 2. So everyone should watch Taskmaster. Have you ever watched an episode of that?
I have never watched that.
It's just like a bunch of comedians who have to do these like ridiculous tasks. Okay. And they have to try to like beat each other on time or like quality and everything. And then Greg Davies like awards them points. And it's so freaking funny. Like one of them had like for one of the challenges, they had to do a movie that like in reverse makes sense. So like one of them, it's like him, like there's a van who's like driving him on a skateboard like backwards. And it looks like he's like pulling the van.
Oh, interesting.
And they get done and they're like, and he's like, after we finished, he said, that is the most exciting thing I've ever done.
Oh my.
And it's very funny and I loved it so much. So everyone watch Taskmaster. Hannah loves British television. So they should
watch Strange World because Laura loves Disney.
And those are our
That's
favorite things to do.
my second plug for Strange World. Go watch it.
All right. Well, with that, should we dive in to the Murderbot Diaries?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this book is so good, guys.
I loved this book.
I loved it so much. It was so fun.
There were so many times when I was like, I am Murderbot. Murderbot is me.
I love Murderbot so much. I have certain things tabbed that I think are fascinating with Murderbot. So
do you like highlight and tab in all of your books?
No, usually I do it a lot with the books we read. And
Okay.
usually I just do sections that make me think. A lot of mine were like Murderbot as like Murderbot kind of questions, like not consumerism, but what's the word? Capitalism.
Mhm.
And when Murderbot is often talking about like it's asexualism or
Sure.
like parts where I'm like, oh, is Murderbot neurodivergent, or is that something that we shouldn't be questioning because Murderbot isn't like a person, and is that taking like, people's neurodivergent? Like if someone is neurodivergent, can they find Murderbot like something that expresses them, or do they find it offensive that like it is a being who is technically not human, and that is a big focus of this novel? And it's like, well, even if I'm neurodivergent, I am human. So
sure,
stuff that made me think about that. So that's what I tabbed, guys.
I was just curious because I know like some people, they are very good at the tabbing and underlining and highlighting things, and then they go back and look at it after they read it. And that is just not my personality at all. But I do think that that is awesome that people can read that way. And like, I think it's a great way to learn too, and to reflect on what you're reading. I just do not do it. And also I have had it like trained into me from a very young age, like, do not write in books. So
that's fair. No, I tabbed. I was also planning to use the time to watch some Sanctuary Moon and recharge my ability to cope with the humans at close quarters without losing my mind. And I'm like, yes. I love it, Murderbot. That's amazing.
So many times when she's like, I just want to watch Sanctuary Moon and get away from these people, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so me. Where I'm just like, I just want to go watch Avatar: Last Airbender and get away from everyone.
This is also where we point out that Hannah and Laura both think that Murderbot identifies as female, even though Murderbot identifies as it. It, yes. But I often visualize them as more
I think it's just me putting myself into seeing myself as Murderbot.
I think that that's also what I'm
her
doing.
pronouns. So that is my bad. Murderbot isn't it.
It, yes. And it identifies
in all systems
red. In all systems red. So this book, I'm going to add a little bit of background context before we get into the plot for those who have never read Murderbot. This is Murderbot is an entity that is not, it's more like an android than it is a robot, because it has organic parts to it as well as
so there's like blood and stuff like that too,
and it has like organic pieces to it that can regrow in a certain compartment. So if Murderbot is harmed, then it can regrow its parts. It just takes a while to
and like
repair.
90% of it can be harmed and it can regenerate. Amazing.
Yes, amazing. And Murderbot is an entity that is owned by a corporation that sends Murderbot out as security to
it's called a sec unit.
A sec unit, and Murderbot gets sent out to different worlds, so mostly as security for parties that want to like search on the planet or have like research facilities and everything in between. Murderbot is a pretty low class sec unit. It notes that it is mostly there for security. Any other things the people should have paid for a better sec unit.
And we keep saying Murderbot, but at no point does anyone refer to Murderbot by Murderbot except for Murderbot.
Yes.
So the name
named
itself. It named itself.
Murderbot named itself as Murderbot. And it is because they hacked their government module, which is like
their governor module,
which is the thing that like tells it what to do, how to install software updates, who kind of keep it running.
This is the thing that allows humans to control Murderbot. And it was like, no.
And so at the beginning, we have the stunningly famous opening paragraph. I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company's satellites. It had been well over 35,000 hours or so since then, with still not much murdering, but probably, I don't know, a little under 35,000 hours of movies, serials, books, plays, and music consumed. We are Murderbot.
Like,
Murderbot is us.
What do I do? Murder or just watch a bunch of TV?
As a heartless killing machine, it is a terrible failure. So that is good. The opening of this. We come in on Murderbot, who has a new contract with Dr. Valescu and Dr. Barajwa. Thank you. And it is on a new planet that they are kind of doing assessments over.
Yeah, they're doing a survey to kind of figure out like what plants and animals are there, that kind of thing.
Yes. And it's kind of mostly looking at entertainment while trying to do its job. But like Murderbot is often slacking. Like
Murderbot is often just like, hurry up, you guys. Like, I don't want to be here. Boring. I could be watching Sanctuary Moon and you guys
continue to make me work.
I roll.
And so at the beginning, there is a huge explosion in a barren stretch where like some kind of thing tries to eat them. And they didn't realize that there was a creature who could eat them. And it created a big bare crater, which Bardwaj and Valescu were taking samples in. So Murderbot kind of takes in a verbal emergency call. It kind of feels something interrupting its unit saying like, oh, don't help Dr. Bardwaj. And it's like, oh God, my emergency unit is like trying to work with this other system, but emergency feed takes priority. So it ends up saving Dr. Bardwaj and helping Valescu, who is kind of like having a huge like meltdown, calm down by asking questions. And Murderbot also takes off its helmet that shows its true face, which it usually doesn't do because it freaks humans out.
Which is a sad thing to me because it's like they don't want to see this as a person because they feel more comfortable just sending Murderbot into things if they see Murderbot as just a robot. When they see some of the like human style.
And there are certain rules like set in place by the company that Murderbot is contracted with to like make sure this happens. Cause like on there, they have hoppers, like, which I kind of said were like better helicopters.
Sure.
But they have like a bigger one for emergencies and a little one for getting assessments. And so, and then there are 3 compartments, one for the human crew and 2 smaller ones for one side of cargo, supplies, and Murderbot. So Murderbot usually does not ride with the humans.
Yeah.
But based on the emergency, has to come inside. And Murderbot gets to the hopper and Dr. Mensa is there like talking to Murderbot, and it's like, I can't come inside without your permission. And then it's like, well, I could because I overrode all my commands, but I don't want Dr. Mensa to know that because then Dr. Mensa might try to fix me. And so they get inside, they start riding away, and and they're all like trying to figure stuff out. Like Dr. Rathi is trying to get the cases that they left behind, and Murderbot's like, no. And then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But everyone else yells no too. And Murderbot's like, oh, good, I'm saved.
Yeah. Didn't blow my cover there.
And so Dr. Benso is like, Dr. Rathi, don't get yourself killed. And they get out as fast as they can. And then you find out that Murderbot is like harmed to about 60% and dropping. And so it has to go heal itself. And it gets like word from Dr. Mensa, like it comes to check in on her.
Through the
Dr. Mensa comes in to check on Murderbot to make sure it's okay. And Dr. Mensa is like super nice, and it really disconcerts Murderbot. Like it's always like, why is she being so nice?
So here's the thing, like we find out throughout this novella that the crew has a very hard time deciding how they feel about Murderbot, and Murderbot has a very hard time deciding how it feels about the crew, because the crew is like, this seems very human, it's helping us, we don't know what to do here. And Murderbot is like, it's helping me, I don't know what to do here.
Murderbot also has so many moments where they're like, you want to sit with us? And it's like, no, that just makes me anxious. Like, let me
No,
go away.
can I put my helmet back on, please?
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, don't do that. We want you to feel comfortable. And it's like, I know, this is
I
making
feel
me very
comfortable in the
uncomfortable. Yeah.
corner.
Like,
It's
stop
also
treating me
worth
like
noting
this.
that there's humans and then there's augmented humans
Yes.
too. So,
And like and augmented humans do typically have rights in certain systems, but like augmented humans, like you find out throughout this book that Dr. Mensa and the crew are from a planetary system that sees augmented humans or like creatures like Murderbot as more human than a lot of other societies. But things like Murderbots that are so augmented often have to be like quote unquote sponsored by humans, and they end up working on like the systems to like
through companies,
to get them educated and everything. And Murderbot kind of sees this as derogatory because it's like, I would rather be someone's contracted like entity that gets put onto places than like someone's like charity case almost who gets an education but still doesn't have any rights to follow up with it. So there is like a huge inherent like classism system and caste system going on that like, you know, it's very, very interesting. And I loved this book so much. But Dr. Mensa like asks Murderbot about it losing 20% of its body's mass, and Murderbot's like, it'll grow back. Don't worry.
Which is hilarious because in this moment, like Murderbot says something like, it's fine. And then thinks, oh, yeah, maybe the fact that I'm just like super gashed up and bleeding all over the place looks pretty bad.
Well, Murderbot, it doesn't realize it until they wake up and it like looks around and it's like, oh God, it's really messy in here. Like,
oh,
no wonder Dr. Mensa was all freaked out. Like I was walking around like bloody and gashed and there's blood everywhere. And like, you don't know which one's mine and which one's Dr. Bartois. And so Murderbot like goes into sleep at 39%, goes into stasis, and it's like, thank God. And also starts like music because it is me. And it's like, I can't just sit here and do nothing. I need to have something going on.
Listen to my own thoughts? Seriously?
No, thank you. That's why I fall asleep to New Girl every night. I'm not doing that. And so it wakes up and it's like they have more security right now because they wanted to talk about what had just happened. And it says that their group is called Preservation Ox, and it's bought an option on the planet's resources. And like, it's a pretty cheap mission. There is another group of people there on the other side of the planet, like across the water and everything. And they have a much larger contract. And Murderbot like goes to talk to everyone. Everyone's trying to be nicer to it. And it like also reviewed all the security of where they're talking. And they're like, I didn't realize it would look so human. And it's like, oh God.
The fact they think that Murderbot spies on their conversations. Because, okay, I know that it's like, it's part of my contract to like have this information. I'm like, is it? Or are you just curious what they're saying about you, Murderbot?
Murderbot is like such a messy bitch because like it'll be like, I'm gonna review every single thing you guys said about me, but then it's like, hey, the information packet where it details who these people are, that's kind of boring. I'm not doing that. Like,
I don't think I need to know.
I don't really care.
Because then later when they find out like Dr. Mensa is like a leader within this group, Murderbot's like, oh,
no wonder you guys gave me a weird stare when I was like, well, who cares about her? But anyway, like Murderbot goes to talk to them. It has to wear the like actual clothing that shows off its body because it's all of its like actual
like the gray
security system is like kind of ruined right now. And it's like, oh God, now they have to see me like a person.
This is awkward. I love too that Murderbot's trying to like have a neutral expression and doesn't know how a lot of the time.
What is neutral? I do not get this. It also talks about like noticing all the dynamics of all the people where it's like Valescu admired Mensa to the point where he might have a crush on her. Pinley did too, but she and Bartois flirted occasionally in an old comfortable way. You also find out like here, like polyamory is appropriate because Dr. Valescu, you find out like he has like 5 wives or something. I forget, and like 7 children. A
couple of them later on you find out are
into polyamorous too. So they also find out like the hub system is having some issues. There are certain packages of land that aren't being shown on the screen. And they're like, should we worry about this? And Murderbot's like, probably not. You guys are just cheap.
Great.
So they're like, oh, you get crappy equipment. That's what you get. And they said that like Deltfall is on the continent. They probably have more information. And Mensa wants them to go check out the individual sections, and Murderbot's like, I think I should probably go with you. Like, that seems like a bad idea after Dr. Partouage almost died. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're all trying to like smile at Murderbot to like show it that like they support it. And Murderbot's like, please don't.
Like, never make that face at me again.
And Murderbot like leaves to check out the perimeter, like it's fleeing from a bunch of giant hostiles. And it's ends up going on the mission to like go look at stuff. We kind of find out a little bit more about its internal thoughts about the fact that it hates all people and doesn't want to be anywhere near this, and like just wants to sit in its room watching TV. And like, it does appreciate that Dr. Mensa is like asking it for its real opinions. And
it builds like a mutual respect
yes.
with the crew members when they are kind to it. And it's a situation where Murderbot's just kind of like increasingly becoming more uncomfortable and at the same time more comfortable with the way that it's being treated. And it's kind of funny to me because it's like, oh, people can be nice. These people are being so nice. I'm uncomfortable with it. These people are being so nice. I'm uncomfortable with it. So
well, and it does feel better about itself when it finds out it's like one of the systems that thinks like augmented humans have more rights. And it's like, oh, you guys are one of those. Like, this makes a little bit more sense to me. And so we kind of see it go out, and then there is another person, Garothan, who is an augmented human. And it
which Murderbot does not like.
I know. It's like, oh god, Garothan, and Garothan is also like Murderbot. Because at least Mensa and Arata had overruled the ones who wanted to talk to me about their feelings. Yes, talk to Murderbot about its feelings. The idea was so painful, I dropped to 97% efficiency. I'd rather climb back into hostile one's mouth. And so
I love Murderbot.
They're so good. And it's like, I just want to go into the cargo area. And they're like, you want to ride up here with us, Murderbot?
Like, no.
Like, no, get away from me.
I want to be under the ship.
And so they kind of go out, and Murderbot's a little bit concerned that they're actually being sabotaged on like the area that isn't showing up on the maps, and like one of the humans is taking it away. But it also wants to be careful because it doesn't want them to notice like its governor modules are messed with. Also during this time, it gets like a security software update, and it's like, well, I'm not opening that. I'm gonna do that later, and I'm gonna pick and choose what I'm gonna put into myself.
Right.
And so they kind of look through everything. They think that there are certain glitches because a map is showing off hazardous markers to Murderbot, but not to the people. And they think that there's mapping errors going on. So there's just some suspicious things going down.
Suspicious things.
Suspicious.
Be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
And so they are getting more and more concerned because like Arata and Mensa are like, well, if our survey packages are wrong, and they try to contact Deltfall, but they can't seem to get into contact with them. And they're worried that everybody over at Deltfall might be dead. And it seems like their emergency beacon didn't launch, even though they can't reach them. And they're like, well, if there was a medical emergency that they couldn't handle, their hub system would have triggered the beacon automatically. So there's just way too much going on right now. So they intend to go out for a rescue mission. And Murderbot's kind of like, these people are academics. They are not military people. They are not.
I love the way that Murderbot like immediately is just like, they're not going to be good at this, and I feel uncomfortable sending them in.
And now I'm going to have to go with them because I am a security, but I'm also not equipped for this, but I'm more equipped than they are.
Well, so isn't one of them, it says something like, I guess so-and-so might be good at that. I can't remember which one is like,
it's somewhat Dr. Mensa, where they're like,
is like somewhat Mensa equipped.
It's somewhat equipped, but I mean, are they really? It's very Murderbot.
It's just funny though, because it's like I read their file and I guess Dr. Mensta would maybe somewhat be equipped to go into this, but the rest of them, not a chance.
Right. And so and it knows that she wanted to leave it behind to like watch over the people. And it's like, come on, don't send everyone else into this mission. And so Rathi is like, kind of like, this is weird. This situation is really weird. It's unknown. We have strange threats. I don't know. And Dr. Murderbot's like, oh, thank God, I'm not the only one who thinks that this is ridiculously stupid. And so everyone takes the sec unit, which is Murderbot, and they get on the big hopper. And it said, I prepped the big hopper to go to the other side of the planet. And yes, I had to pull up the instructions.
I love Murderbot.
And at one point, like the autopilot goes out. It has to make sure that it keeps going over these mountains. So there is some struggles going on. They get to the Deltfall area, and it seems kind of like suspicious. So Murderbot's
it's really sketchy, and like, uh-oh. Well, honestly, Murderbot is the one that's like, things aren't looking good. And nobody else is really picking up on it.
Oh, and they also have like Rathi like goes on a thing about how it's like barbaric that like Murderbot is like a contracted worker, and everyone's like, stop, it can hear you. And it's like, he's like, should I apologize? And they're like, no, that'll only make it worse.
Right.
Like Murderbot's like, oh, thank God. And like it has to be sitting up in the front without it, it's mortified. So they get there. It's really sketchy. There are outages along the satellite. There's just not going well. So Murderbot goes in and it finds like all the Deltfall people there dead.
Yeah.
And one of the sec units is like ripped apart.
Yeah, their sec unit is destroyed. And Murderbot's like, wait a minute. They're probably rogue sec units, the other ones. So something's going on here and this is bad. And I don't know. Because then Murderbot says something like, when Murderbots have to attack each other, it's just like terrible.
It's just a fight to the death. Like it's immediately like, hey, whoever can kill the other one first, that's good. And so Murderbot like goes and it attacks one of the other Murderbots, two of the other Murderbots, and it's like, okay, well, I got rid of all the Murderbots here, so I'm good now, or all the sec units. It does call,
but then more show up.
But then more show up and incapacitate Murderbot, and it wakes up on the table, and it feels like something is getting implanted into itself, and it's like freaking out. And then Dr. Mensa comes in and saves Murderbot and takes it back to the hopper, and all of a sudden Murderbot's like, oh crap, this is not good. And it's like, you need to kill me right now. And they're like, what? And it's like, no, my data port is like corrupted, I need to get out.
They're like, they put a combat module in me, get it out.
And it knows that it's going to kill all the people if they let it go. And so Murderbot ends up hitting itself where it knows it won't kill itself, and it's like, I hope they'll do it for me after I'm out and they stop seeing me as human. And so then it comes back online with all the people standing around it, and it performs a diagnostic test, and it realizes that they removed the override module and didn't kill it. And it's like, oh, my clients are the best. Like, this is awesome. And then they finds out that Grothan immobilized the hub system, and that he asked one of the other people to go in and look, and it's like, the unit is already rogue. It hacked its governor's module. We need to kill it right now.
Well, and then they also learn that it had previously murdered 57 people
at a mining facility. When, like, something happened to it that it was overridden, and it murdered a bunch of people. And Murderbot's like, oh God. So like, I have gone rogue before, but the last one wasn't my fault, and like it wasn't very fun. And it also, like, most of the people are arguing against like Grothan's point of view. Where they're like, oh well, like, it's been, how long has it been
helping us and protecting us? They cleared
it has to be killed. Like, you know, what else do you want? And Murderbot keeps being like, I knew I always liked them.
And then Grothan says something. And he's like, or Murderbot says something like, I do not like Grothan.
Yeah, and they're like, well, they're also like, well, what if the company's trying to kill us? And it's like, no, it's
the company is not.
And they're all like, how do you know? And it's like, well, if the company wanted to sabotage you, it wouldn't be using murder bots. That's so obvious. Like, come on, guys. It would have just poisoned you.
Yeah, they're sending you all this food and everything. They would just do that.
And it's like, well, and Grothin's like, come on, it killed all those mining people. And it's like, listen, I didn't hack my governor module to kill my clients. I did it to make sure I didn't do it again. Like, it's not fun to know that you did that. And so Valesky was like, oh, well, I asked Grothin to like look at the logs, and it's like, okay, so what's it been doing? And he's like, it's been watching a scary amount of Sanctuary Moon.
And they're like, is it actually watching Sanctuary Moon, or is it trying to get intel from this or that?
Grothin is like, it's definitely in the code. It's in the code of the show that like, that's what they're trying to do. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to kill us.
Well, and then there's like somebody's like, well, does so-and-so do this or that? And they're like, that never happens.
It goes, they go, it's probably using it to encode data for the company. We'd notice if it was actually watching TV in that much volume. And Rothy goes, the one where the colonies,
you guys never noticed.
Rothy is like, the one where the colony solicitor killed the terraforming supervisor who was the secondary donor for her implanted baby. And it goes, she didn't kill him. That's a fucking lie. Rothy is like, it's watching it. And Murderbot, they're like, how did you hack the system? And it's like, well, all the company stuff is the same. It's so stupid. So it's like, and then Grothin is still like, no, it's just letting you see that it hacked his module. It's like choosing to do this. And the Murderbot, he's like, I immobilized you to keep you safe. And it's like, no, you didn't. You were really bad at this job. Come on. And so Mensa is like, Grothin, like, it picks up Grothin and is like threatening him, and Mensa's like, put him down. And it's
nobody
like,
gets concerned at all. And it's funny because Murderbot's like, the way that Mensa handled herself there was very good, because if Mensa would have started to panic, everybody else was starting to panic, and I would have been toast. But also, I did not harm Grothin, and I just held him up.
And then Grothin, it's like, I don't like you, but the rest of them do, and I like them, so I guess you're cool. And then it talks about like how the hub system, it's deleting what's going on with the hub system right now because it doesn't want the hub system to know that it's been hacked. And then it realizes that like all the other things that have been happening to it recently are coming from something else hacking the company system. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, when I got that thing that tried to override my emergency unit and let one of you die, that was definitely something messing with me. And like them trying to insert something in me, that was something messing with me. And when our autopilot went out, that was definitely something bad. And so it says that it thinks an outside agent is doing this, and it must be someone else who's on the planet, like with subterfuge. And they were mad that they started looking around because they're like, oh, it didn't want you to see what they've been doing. And that's why they tried to kill you with all these like sec units. And then once it finds out that like that Mensa is like a leader of their planet, it's like, oh god, the company definitely wouldn't kill you this way, because too many questions would pop up. And also like the company is incentivized to hide stuff like this, but it's too complicated to do that with like a leader of one of these worlds. So like there's no way they would do that. It says the company could be bribed to conceal the existence of several hundred survey teams on the planet, but it didn't see a way to like making a client survey team actually vanish, because that'll come back onto the company and then they'll lose money. And like corporate greed is like way too big for that to happen.
They're like, they do not want to lose that much money to do this. Like the lawsuits would be unreal. There's no
like
way.
It's just not going to happen that way. And like they're kind of like, well, what happened with Delphault? Like, how did they get onto the units? And it's like, well, you guys are dumb enough to let strangers in if they ask for help. So why wouldn't these people do it? And then they're like, oh my god, they pretended to be us. They were just like, oh yeah, we're this preservation aux unit. And then they walked right in and killed everyone. And so they decide to like go back to their facility and try to get the beam on, and then try to escape to like kind of keep them protected. And Murderbot realizes that like by doing this, it can't use its rebuilt like cubicle, like they can't bring it with them. So whatever Murderbot is going on, that's what it has to do. It has to leave its habitat behind. And it leaves some of its drones behind to kind of do security.
I was a little confused by like the drone thing though, because nobody can control the drones but Murderbot, correct?
Right.
Okay. So I was kind of like, I don't know why you would leave them, but I guess
it wanted
just so
them
you
as
have
like
eyes there.
it wanted them as security cameras, but it also had to go back close to them to be able to get like the radio frequency to actually look at them.
Oh, okay.
I also put like one of its more human moments. It was unexpectedly super stressful, pacing back and forth in front of the hoppers, waiting for my humans. So cute. And so they all kind of go, they're like thanking Murderbot. They all kind of like it. It's amazing. And then the humans are debating where to go, but they also really don't understand what's going on. And they're now calling the other survey team Evil Survey.
Which is great because it's just like the most simple name for them. Like, what should we call this Evil Survey group? I know, Evil Survey.
And it also is like bitching because it's like I had to leave so much of my entertainment behind. Like, you guys have no idea. I need to be able to entertain myself. That is the most important thing to do. And this is where they're like, well, don't you know that Dr. Mensa is like one of the leaders? And it's like, no. And it's like, well, didn't you read the information packet? And it's like, no, that sounded boring.
So great.
So they decide to Murderbot decides to get to the evil survey team and kind of devise a plan to make sure that it gets their own security thing to call in the company to help them. And so it goes with Dr. Mensa to like this meeting organization. Like they tell it to meet them somewhere and they have them meet them like outside of their facilities. And Murderbot's
like on a landing pad, right?
Yeah, on a landing pad. And Murderbot's like, damn it, I was wishing we would be further away.
Yeah.
And then Murderbot comes out. It's like, I have definitely gotten into my unit and I want to make a deal with you guys. If you guys let me go free, I will give you the person in there who is a leader.
Information.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's like I'll trade you information. I thought,
okay.
And then
yeah,
and they're like, no, we want to kill that person. They're like, you better not kill that person because that's actually a leader, and that could be very bad for you.
And they're like, okay, we'll go get that leader, and this other
we'll
sec
hold
unit
them
go
hostage.
with them. Yeah, and so the Murderbot is like, well, I know that sec unit is probably there to kill me. So
yeah, they're just gonna kill me and then take Dr. Mensa. So gotta think this one through.
Immediately kills the other unit and then like wears its armor, and it's like this is a little bit more
in a disguise.
And so then it goes and it gets Dr. Mensa. It explains like what happened. Oh, and during
you need to pretend to be my prisoner.
And during this time, like when they were preparing, Dr. Mensa was like, we need to see your face whenever we can because we need to know it's you. And it's like, oh God, this is awful.
Not that.
And so
that means I have to make facial expressions.
So it takes Dr. Mensa out as a pretend prisoner. And they like take it back to this place. It has to ride in the cargo container with them. And Mensa is like, well, I came because I didn't want you guys to kill us. And it's like, but how can we trust you to leave us alive if we like transfer these funds to you? And they're all like, not really. Like, you can't trust us at all. And Murderbot's sitting there being like, oh God, like we have to make. So the plan is to have all the other like folks kind of sneak in and hit the security system.
Yeah, send out a beacon.
Yeah, but it also notes that like the company's super freaking cheap. So it's like there's a chance this beacon just doesn't work. Like they don't have safety features. Like if we try to trigger it and it doesn't work, like we're done for. The evil survey team ends up noticing that Murderbot is like not their sec unit. And so they attack it and they like kick it off and it feels like it's offline and it's like, oh, I'm hurt and now I am being thrown.
Well, it like falls and is trying to protect Mensa. Because there's because what happens is they activate the emergency beacon, so like their plan works, and then it's like a big explosion, and Murderbot grabs Dr. Mensa, and they're like falling, and Murderbot is like hurt in the fall.
Okay, thank you. That is right. Hannah's terrible with action scenes. Everyone knows it. So all of a sudden it realizes it's offline and then it comes to in the ravine and it's like, oh God, that really hurt. Mensa sitting next to Murderbot cradling an arm. And it's like, you have to, and she's like telling it to be careful. And then all of a sudden it goes offline again. And then Garathan is all of a sudden there. And it's like, oh, I lost time again. And they're making their way to the Gray Chris habitat through the cover of the forest. So they're, Penley notices that they're like minimal functionality. And Mensa is like refusing to believe that Murderbot could be dead. And Murderbot is like flashing in and out. And then it remembers being in a big hopper, being lifted up, and a flash in the feed.
A little hopper.
And then it was like, oh, it means we're all safe. And Murderbot gets to let go. Then it comes back to in a cubicle, and it's like, oh, I'm rebuilding myself. And it wasn't a cubicle at the habitat, which was an older model, which means that they're at the company station. And it like the doors open and Rati is immediately there, and it's like, Dr. Minta permanently bought your contract. And it's like, you're coming home. And it's like, well, this is a surprise.
Okay.
And then it's kind of like just reeling from all of this. And they have
well, it's like a weird situation where it's like walking down the street in this area and just like, oh, nobody's giving me a weird look. There's other augmented humans around, so they like have ports and everything.
Yes.
And so nobody's really thinking of me as weird, and that in itself, just to be part of society and be normal, is so uncomfortable and at the same time comforting to Murderbot.
And also Murderbot during this time, like Dr. Mensa keeps telling about how many options it has, how it can like go back.
It will be able to learn whatever it wants.
And Mensa, it can go back to Mensa's farm and just work there for as long as it wants.
Yeah, because Mensa has 2 spouses.
Yes. And
that they run a farm together.
Murderbot's kind of like, it's talked throughout this entire book about how it may not be very effective because it just wants to sit around and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of getting overwhelmed by this. It's watching a lot of entertainment. And it's like, am I supposed to kind of want this stuff to like go and learn? And it's kind of like, it has to leave its armor behind. That's really weird for it. And it's kind of just like, it notes that it would be like, that Dr. Mensa would be its guardian because their world, they need a sponsor, guardian type person. And it's like, well, guardian's a nicer word than owner. But like, it gets a little bit overwhelmed. So it kind of slips out when the survey team is busy. It goes to a dock workers barracks, and it checks like a schedule feed to find out one of the ships is getting ready to launch with a bot driven cargo transport. So no one's going to be on it. And so everyone like, just kind of lets it on.
Do you like to watch TV?
Yeah, it asks the cargo ship if it wants to watch TV. And the cargo is like, I like TV. And it knows that it doesn't know what it wants, but it knows that it doesn't want others to make a decision for it. And that's why it left. And it says that Dr. Mensa is its favorite human, but it just doesn't want to let others do that for it. And then it says that it's sending Dr. Mensa the message so that
that's why this message is for you, Dr. Mensa.
And it says
understand.
Murderbot end message. So cute. I freaking loved this book so
much.
I
loved this so much. After I finished, I was like, I'm so proud of myself for choosing this because it's so good. So good.
So good. I can't wait to talk about the characters next week. I just think that this is a fascinating tale. I would love to hear like more from people who feel a certain type of way about Murderbot. I know Murderbot talks about how it always fast forwards from lovemaking scenes. Murderbot, king, queen, being all eternal, powerful. I just love it so much. I love its complicated emotions. I can't wait to talk about more about the sec unit. And yeah, good.
There's so many good things about Murderbot. Love Murderbot.
This will be a fun series to do.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Guys, everyone should be telling us what they think about Murderbot on our Discord. And a huge announcement. We launched our Patreon.
Yay!
You can find us at patreon.com/OWWR. That's OWWR Pod. There are a couple different membership levels you can do. So do what you can, or if you can't, we understand.
And you know what? If you can't do Patreon, it helps just to get reviews and have people sharing about our podcast too. So any kind of sharing like that, any word of mouth or anything like that, it all helps. And we really appreciate it.
So this isn't like us trying to pressure anyone to support us, but this is like, some people have said that they'd like to support us in this way.
Right.
if you can handle it, we have a couple different like Patreon levels. And like Laura said, if you can't support in this way, please support with reviewing and throwing us 5 stars. It honestly means a lot, and we love it when people do that. This is just to help us with some of the overall costs of running the podcast, software for the editing features, for our podcast RS feed, all those things. Every little bit helps. This is just something we decided to do this year to see how it works. There are a couple different membership tiers. A casual listener, it's $3 a month. You get behind the scenes contents, posts about the episode we did and like things we chatted about and other topics that we can do a deeper dive into with the creative process. And you get to see kind of what's happening next with the pod and maybe get even an extra vote on things like what podcasts or what series we're going to cover next. So just another place to vote, to be heard, and to talk to us one-on-one. We have our number 2 fan category. Ronnie reads regularly as our number 1 fan, always and forever, but a number 2 fan. We also have all the stuff from the casual listener, but we also have an extra podcast episode a month on Patreon specifically. This month, we are going to be covering a Law and Order SVU episode because you guys loved that discussion earlier last month. And so
let's be real, there's so many things that happen in Law and Order that we could talk for years.
But we also talked about covering like fun books or soap operas, or this is just like an extra bonus episode to do a deep dive in with us on a random topic. More our comedic leanings than our, deep dives into reading, or even deep dives.
Then when we're serious
want to do
about
obviously
like in-depth talking about Murderbot. So.
And you also get to do a TV watch along with us sometimes, or we'll chat about episodes of TV we choose to watch together. I have a couple different
Sanctuary Moon.
Sanctuary Moon. I have a couple things that I was going to throw out doing a watch along with people on. So like, we'll probably do that. Maybe some Vimeos of watching us watch Law and Order, all that fun stuff, or joining in on a Netflix watch party, something along those lines. We're still open to what that looks like. And then we have an extraordinary fan, and it's for people who want to give $10 a month if you can. You get all the extras of the other ones, but you also get a shout out on the pod at least once a month. And the first time you ever sign up for this level, it's a one time, you get to choose one book under 600 pages for a host to read. You do get to pick which host you're choosing this for. So you could really pile on if you wanted to. Please don't. But
it'll be me, Hannah. I know it.
But that host will get a year to read the book and write a review on it. So it'll give us a little bit more time, but you do get to choose that option. You get to pick a book. It's exciting. And it's just kind of like an extra thank you for that kind of level of support. So that is kind of it.
I can feel Malazan coming my way.
I said 600 for a reason, Laura.
Good.
I gave us a limit because, guys, like, you can't be picking 1,000-page books for us to read. It's just, that's too much. 600 is a still very large novel.
That's very big, actually.
It's huge. It was like, I wanted us to hit a level of unreasonable, but not terrifying,
Sure.
Like...
I'm still terrified by it, but
okay. Well, guys, pick the longer ones for Hannah then. Don't do that to Laura.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the tiers we have. So feel free to sign up at patreon.com/OWWR Pod. We love any kind of support. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, and subscribing. And to do that, you can also join our Discord, which is still free. We might have some membership, channels, but if that happens, we'll be fully upfront with you about that.
Yeah.
And we also are heavily involved on Instagram and on Twitter currently, and on Hive. So you guys can follow us at OWWR Pod on all those platforms. And if you want to be heard by us personally, email us. We love a good email from you guys at ourpod@gmail.com. Make sure you're looking at you can find our Patreon on our website, ourpod.com. As well as some reviews. I'm thinking we're going to get one from the Talia Hibbert that Laura just reviewed this week. So it's all exciting. We're all making the most content we possibly can while still being two busy women who have full-time jobs.
We have our limits.
We do have our limits. This is going to be kind of new. And that's why we're only doing one podcast episode a month. If people start getting more interested, maybe the top tier will get two
one
episodes.
Patreon podcast per month.
Yeah, one Patreon podcast per month. But next week we will be covering the characters of All Systems Red. So
and
join us
plots
next
and
week.
themes, right?
And plots and themes, yes, all of the in between, because I think that we have a ton to say about just the themes of this book, because it's a fascinating tale. Sci-fi opens up new doors to us, unlike the what ifs.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to discuss that more with you, Laura. So join us next week, and we will see you then. Bye.
Bye.